The beam of flashlight swept the dimness of the barn, landed on the fire which flared and burned brighter from the air blowing in from the doorway, and then on Eric's feet. The light rose to his knees and then to his face, and stayed there, blinding him. He staggered out of the way, but it followed him. The door closed, lessening the wind's howl. In the relative quiet, a man's voice said, "I know who you are. I saw you on TV. A kid and a dog like this one, both gone missing. There's a reward for bringing you back, and I guess I'll be the one to claim it." Chapter 18. Eric stood blinking in the glare of the flashlight beam, too astounded to respond. Quill remained by his side, growling low in her throat. "Seems it's my lucky day," the man went on, sounding both pleased and amused. "Buddy asks me to come out this way, check on some horses, so I'm heading back and I see a light, and what looks like smoke coming from this old barn. I'm thinking to myself, that just isn't right. So I come in here, and what do you know?" The man gave a snort of laughter. "Thanks, kid. I sure can use the $5,000. Eric hadn't moved except to put his hands up to shield his eyes. From behind his hands he said, $5,000? The man lowered the flashlight and said, "Yeah, so put out that fire and grab your stuff. Time to stop playing Davy Crockett and get on home to your mama." In a more kindly tone he added, "I bet you could use a home-cooked meal by now, couldn't you, son?" Eric said tightly, "I'm not your son, and my mother is in Iraq." The man smiled. "Oh, yeah, I remember now. It was your grandma on TV. The one who put up the money, wasn't it? You know they got one of those Amber Alerts out on you?" An image of Oma weeping on TV and begging for Eric's safe return flashed through his head. "The old man, that's your grandpa? He was plenty upset." "Yeah, I bet," thought Eric, imagining Big Darrell's fury. The man waved the flashlight around, saying, "Come on now, you've caused enough trouble. Put that fire out and let's get going." Thoughts were racing through Eric's mind like tumbleweeds across the prairie. $5,000? Oma and Big Darrell didn't have that kind of money. Look at their house. They couldn't even afford to fix the porch steps. There was no way he was going to let himself be hauled back by this stranger and make his grandparents pay to get him back. It was too late to fix the fact that he'd run away, but he as sure as heck could decide how and when he was going back. And he was going to do it on his own, not be handed over like a lost wallet. He figured his best chance to escape was to pretend to give up and surrender to the idea that he was being taken back home. With a shrug, he mumbled, "Okay," and used a stick to spread the remains of the fire. Then he stamped the embers out and began gathering his belongings, starting with the shotgun. Before Eric knew what was happening, the man reached out and grabbed the gun from his hand. Grinning, he said, "I'll hang on to this for now, if you don't mind. I don't want you getting any funny ideas." "Hey, you can't take that. It belonged to my uncle," Eric cried. At the sound of his raised voice, Quill began to bark. "Quiet," the man commanded her. To Eric, he said, "Keep your pants on, kid. You'll get the gun back once I've got you home and the money's in my pocket." "Don't worry. I'm not going to get any funny ideas," Eric said, making himself sound meek and resigned. "I'm ready to go back now." The man nodded approvingly as Eric picked up his pack. "That's the way, kid." They walked in the light of the flashlight beam toward the barn door. Every one of Eric's senses was on full alert, waiting for just the right moment to make a move. The man pushed the door open into what felt like a different world from the warm, cozy barn. It was pitch dark. Snow was still falling, driven sideways by the screaming wind. The flashlight beam landed on a pickup truck about 20 yards away. Eric was pleased to see that the man had driven right up to the barn wall and parked, meaning that he'd have to back up before he could come after Eric, giving Eric a couple of extra precious seconds to get away. "Go on, you and the dog, get in the front seat," the man hollered. "Okay," Eric yelled back. When they got near the truck, he opened the passenger side door as if to get in, but as the man walked around the rear of the truck to the driver's side, Eric took off. Quill followed, barking with excitement. As Eric fled into the blowing snow and darkness, he heard the man shouting angrily, but the words were snatched away by the wind. Then the flashlight beam swept wildly through the night. It caught Eric's back for a brief moment, but he dodged to the side and was soon beyond its range. As he stumbled blindly on, he envied Quill, who seemed to have no trouble at all navigating obstacles and uneven ground in the black of night. Eric remembered his dream of, when was it? 2 nights before, in which he too had run smoothly and effortlessly on 4 legs. He looked back to see that the truck was moving, its headlights cutting a swath of light through the darkness. They moved in an arc as the man drove in a circle, but the truck couldn't follow through brush and rocks, fences and ditches. When Eric dared to slow down enough to look back, he was elated to see the lights of the pickup fading in the distance. He paused, bending double to catch his breath, then allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction. They had escaped. Stay tuned next time for Chapter 19.